In this, my last performance, I perform acts of breathtaking beauty and precision. In this, my last performance, I explain everything. In this, my last performance, everything explains itself. In this, my last performance, all of us together, based on our collective rationality, create a simple and practical model for the peaceful coexistence of all people on the planet. In this, my last performance, I drag a loaf of bread across the floor on a string. In this, my last performance, I don't say a word. In this, my last performance, I go to sleep on stage. In this, my last performance, I ask you to dance with me. Each of you remembers this, my last performance, for many years to come. The true beauty and full meaning of this, my last performance, unfold only in your memories and in your narrations about it. Everything that ever moved me is in this, my last performance. In this, my last performance, I sing in the ghetto. This, my last performance, is all humility and compassion. This, my last performance, is so successful that famous collectors pay high prices for relics of my earlier performances. I buy a house by the sea. I sit on the terrace, smoke cigarettes, and drink the dry, characteristic wine an old farmer nearby makes. A young woman comes by to cook and clean. Maybe every once in a while she gives me a blowjob. In this, my last performance, I kill all of my old loves. In this, my last performance, I kill some cherries. A lot of cherries, actually. For everything I need to say in this, my last performance, I find an artistic form of expression that each of you understands directly, physically, immediately. With this, my last performance, I right every wrong. With this, my last performance, I ask for forgiveness for all suffering I ever caused, especially to anyone present, and I receive it. I travel around the world in this, my last performance, with an old man who's seen it all and understands it. During this, my last performance, I show no feelings, real or fake. This, my last performance, does not question my loyalties in general. That's one of its weaknesses. What colors does this, my last performance, have? This, my last performance, is so bad because I try to veil my resignation with cheap provocation. You should not deduct from what I say and do in this, my last performance, that I don't appreciate the beauty of nature. But I also know that nature is a bourgeois illusion, its non-existence long understood by biologists and linguists alike. If I was able to say what I have to say with this, my last performance, in any other way than performing it, I would just do it. I don't perform this, my last performance, it performs me. Yes, all those books I almost read are in this, my last performance, too. Whatever I do in it, this, my last performance, will not buy me love. In this, my last performance, I finally abandon my unlimited contempt. I remain, however, a far cry from unlimited compassion. The mercy I show does not equal the mercy I need in this, my last performance. You, and only you, I stand to face with this, my last performance, raw meat in your grinder. But where is the risk in this, my last performance? Easy to jump the gap in this, my last performance, easy to fly. The context will catch me. Maybe I should do this, my last performance, differently. Instead of talking so much, I could just pour syrup onto a small pot of herbs, piss on it, kiss it, and rub it all into my body. The result should be more or less the same. During this, my last performance, I suggest to 4 or 5 female spectators to abduct them in my spaceship. One agrees. I lack the courage to really disrupt anything with this, my last performance. I just want to be liked for it. If I really wanted to be liked, I would try hard to fulfill all of your needs and expectations with this, my last performance. But I want to be liked without making an effort. Everything is quite all right just the way it is in this, my last performance. Not for a second do I regret during this, my last performance, that I am unable to see ghosts or talk to animals. Each action I attempt during this, my last performance, fails. This, my last performance, fills a short moment after my mother gives birth to me astride of a grave, when the light gleams an instant before it's night once more. I kiss no one during this, my last performance. Maybe I will be kissed. Me in this, my last performance, me once again. With this, my last performance, I only want to belong. And the hair in this, my last performance, yes, the hair. During this, my last performance, I don't throw food. I might pour sticky liquids, though, during this, my last performance. You can follow me around all through this, my last performance. Relax. I will not take you by the hand, nor will I imitate your way of walking. Of course, I bring gold leaf and honey to this, my last performance. I don't know, though, if I'm going to use them. Early on, during this, my last performance, I lean against a Coca-Cola vending machine, bleeding from the mouth. For this, my last performance, I need no computer, no video projection, and no digital camera. No analog camera either. This, my last performance, is really about the real. Time runs backwards in this, my last performance. This, my last performance. In this, my last performance, I give up control of my body to a young man from Sweden. The video recording of this, my last performance, cannot express the atmosphere in this room at all. The experience is ours alone. Everything I say here and now about this, my last performance, is, to the best of my knowledge, incorrect. In this, my last performance, a lot of eggs get broken. Some hearts, too. This, my last performance, does not tell you anything. It asks something of you. In this, my last performance, I use the tip of my red-hot glowing knife to mark the spots where the two steel ropes that lead me towards my destiny enter my chest. There has to be something real in this performance. There really has to be something in this, my last performance. After I hardly move and say almost nothing for several hours of this, my last performance, a mighty wave of fatigue rolls through the room. It holds all of you and myself tightly in its grip. It is from the empty times during this, my last performance, that new insights grow. Hardly anyone really likes this, my last performance, but there is something about it. During this, my last performance, my friend, the beer king, gets so drunk that he can barely tape his microphones to the membrane of the big bass speaker. At a time when almost no one expects anything anymore, a glistening ray of pure energy flashes through this, my last performance. This, my last performance, is not a joke. This, my last performance, is like a small death. During this, my last performance, I lose my beard. In many cultures, this symbolizes the loss of possessions, virility, or beloved people. This, my last performance, could be really good if I would only spend a little more power, time, and attention for its preparation. This, my last performance, is an archive of failed attempts. In the end of this, my last performance, we all sit in a small tent together, singing Let It Be. It is not only fear that keeps me from really doing all the things I talk about in this, my last performance. It is a combination of fear and laziness. I find it hard to believe myself that this, my last performance, is all I ever really wanted to do. When it is 5 in the morning, in this, my last performance, I watch someone having hard sex while the sun rises over Berlin. In case anyone still didn't notice, this, my last performance, is about how humans should live. To sort out the signs of this, my last performance, is your work. It's not my fault that the signs of this, my last performance, do not come in a natural order. With this, my last performance, I want to make you understand that the disorder of the storm of signs is the only gate to true freedom. Read what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. In den här mitt sista performance, jag pratar bara svenska, även om jag är ett intervju. With this, my last performance, I bravely confront the evil power of the Black Dragon Mask. This, my last performance, says there is no other reality. Actually, there is no reality at all. There are elements in this, my last performance, that are embarrassing for me too. I keep them anyhow because I believe in the power of intuition. That I only talk about everything instead of doing it. And this, my last performance, is just the way I like it anyhow. So softly the hair nestles in the crook of my arm during this, my last performance. So softly. Of course I believe that this, my last performance, makes me more attractive to some of the women in this room. If I have nothing new to say with this, my last performance, I might as well not do it. Yes, it is painful to pin all those sheriff stars to the tender skin of my stomach during this, my last performance, but so rewarding. In addition to the materials I already mentioned, I will use a bottle of Clorox, rice, a pair of black man's trousers, a small frayed pane of glass, and several cans of pizza tomatoes in this, my last performance. I use no birch wood, raw meat, and no staple dog. During this, my last performance, I might transform into an ill-tempered hamster several times. If you don't understand much English, you have a good chance to understand what this, my last performance, is all about. In this, my last performance, I thank everyone for everything. This, my last performance, fizzles out without consequence like all the ones before it. This, my last performance, begins a damn long way with the last step. After this, my last performance, the children of the next generation want to become zoo directors, farmers, soldiers, motocross riders, and performance artists. This, my last performance, makes employees of advertising agencies working for banks and sports shoe manufacturers regret, repent, and try to forget that they ever used the word performance in advertising. As the morning of the second day of this, my last performance, dawns, I step up to the large stone in the center, dressed in the white gown. The sword in my right hand, a Japanese plum in the left. Contrary to what I hope, everything remains ambivalent in this, my last performance, still. During this, my last performance, I probably will not hurt myself. At least I don't plan to. I left all the right knives right at home in the kitchen drawer. There's a time and a space for everything, and this is my last performance. In this, my last performance, my concentration never slips, not for one moment. During this, my last performance, I breed some eggs, and beautiful birds hatch from them, the likes of which no one ever saw, their feathers shimmering purple blue. During this, my last performance, I pay off all my debts. A light, friendly tone, and the deep world sadness keep a precarious balance during this, my last performance. The feeling of utter uselessness corresponds, surprisingly, with the quality of great relief in this, my last performance. Some of you feel truthfulness for the first time at work in art during this, my last performance, though you might not have put it just like that. This, my last performance, leaves you stunned, dumbfounded. This, my last performance, is not participative, cross-disciplinary, social, or relational. It's just a fucking performance. Every single of this, my last performance, every single element of this, my last performance, is stolen.